Welcome, happy Monday. Welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. And sadly, it's the last Monday of the regular season before we get into the playoffs, as we have gone through 18 weeks of the National Football League season. Thank you very much all for joining us if you joined us for any of our recap episodes. But this is going to be our full Week 18 recap. As you saw in the graphic at the beginning of the show, our thoughts and prayers are still with Damar Hamlin, but there is some extremely good news on that front, as he has been released from the hospital in Cincinnati and is back in Buffalo as we speak. So hopefully he continues to make a good recovery, as it sounds like everything is positive on his end. But this is Prime Sports World, and we're going to talk about week number 18. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast if you have not already done so. We are on Facebook, we are on YouTube, we are on Twitch, and we are on Twitter. So continue checking us out. I'm David Huffman, your host. My co-host, Mr. T.J. Hopkins, in the house. Welcome to the show, my friend, as we try to get this done before the national championship gets kicked off at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time.
And we're also on Apple Podcasts.
We are, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, in case you didn't miss our live, we are also on Apple Podcasts, we are on Spotify, and we are on Amazon Music, Amazon Podcast, I think is the other one. I'm still working on getting that memorized. Thank you very much, TJ, for reminding me that I completely forgot. So, fun fact. But yeah, this has been going to be our Week 18 recap. TJ, I'm a little sad, man, that the NFL season is now completely over. I know we're going into the playoffs, but just the greatness of just sitting down on Sundays and watching Red Zone and seeing all the touchdowns from every game and watching games, I'm just going to be sad.
Yeah, Red Zone is, I guess that's why it's called Red Zone. Like, I prefer that they give you, like, the whole game, but
so my team is Chicago, and they're not always on TV here in Fort Wayne, and so I'm able to watch, like, kind of bits and pieces of a bunch of different games all at the same time, which I really enjoy. But yeah, it's not quite the same as sitting down and watching an entire game, obviously.
It is what it is.
Yep.
Let's do this.
Let's get into week number 18 recap. Let's talk about the first game on the docket there. We got the Kansas City Chiefs going into the Death Star and beating down the Las Vegas Raiders and Jared Stidham, as Patrick Mahomes had a great game here. 18 of 26, 202, one touchdown. Isaiah Pacheco, really solid season for him as a rookie. 8 for 64 and a touchdown. Ronald Jones and Kadarius Toney all had rushing touchdowns. Justin Watson led them in receiving yards, and Jared McKinnon was at 5 games in a row with a receiving touchdown. He's been a real revelation for the Kansas City Chiefs as we've gone down the stretch here. On the other side, Jared Stidham came back down to earth a little bit after it was a strong performance in week number 17 against, I don't even remember who they played, but he had a pretty good game there. I think it was the Patriots, but I don't. Yeah, Niners, thank you very much. 22 of 36, 219, one touchdown, one pick. He also led this team in rushing. Devontae Adams led the team in receiving yards, and Hunter Renfrow had the lone receiving touchdown for this team as the Raiders wind up their season at 6-11. And they lose the game 31-13.
Yeah, it's again, when we do this episode, like when we talk about disappointing teams, the Raiders are definitely going to be on there. I don't like the throwing of Derek Carr basically under not a bus, but a whole train. Like, they pretty much just ostracized and blamed Derek Carr for the terrible season that they had. And
I mean, Derek Carr doesn't play offensive line for the Raiders. Derek Carr doesn't play defense for the Raiders. Like, he put them in positions to win games. The defense regularly screwed it up for him. And
everybody wanted to talk about how would Devontae Adams do without Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. He had career highs across the board.
Yeah, Devontae Adams is good no matter what system he plays in. So I don't think that's much of a concern.
Like, the guy had more yards this season than any season he's ever had with Aaron Rodgers. All right. Now, obviously, you're sad because you didn't get a full 17 games with Renfrow, Waller, and Adams. And
yeah, I think those guys only played
3 games,
like 3 games or so together as a whole.
And now you run the risk of losing Josh Jacobs in free agency. Maybe I don't see them trading away Devontae Adams despite the rumors. And
I don't think so either.
and you've basically all but ran Derek Carr out of town. So
Yeah, I would be shocked if he was back in this team. They basically made it pretty clear that he will not be back there. And I don't know how you can bring back Devontae Adams if you're not going to have Derek Carr. But, we'll talk about that when we get to the offseason preview. So we're going to do an offseason preview for every single team in the NFL. We'll get to all of those questions when we get to it. But when it comes to this game, yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs were just way outmatched. The Las Vegas Raiders, Kansas City Chiefs shored up the number 1 seed with this game. I still don't absolutely love the way the NFL handled that situation because Buffalo beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And if Buffalo had beaten the Bengals, they would be the number 1 seed.
Yep. I mean,
if anything, we talk about like a coin flip. We're going to talk about that game here in a little bit, but it should have been a coin flip between Buffalo and Kansas City, who's going to be the number 1 seed in the AFC. That's just my straight up opinion.
I kind of feel like there was no wrong, quote unquote, wrong way to handle that situation. Like, it was like no one wanted to touch that situation, and I don't blame them. Like, it's at the end of the day, like, you're not thinking about a game, you're thinking about someone's life at the end of the day.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I don't know. Just something about that situation just irks me a little bit.
Like, what they decided was, like, if the if the Bills and the Chiefs.
No, I understand that situation. What my point is that Kansas City Chiefs got the bye over Buffalo because of it, and that's the neutral side's fine, but Kansas City gets to play one less game because Buffalo didn't play one. Buffalo played one less game technically.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't sit particularly well with me.
I
wish the NFL had handled it a little bit.
It's a new precedent. It's something that they've never dealt with before. So
true. But yeah, Kansas City took care of business. They knew what they needed to do. They're the number 1 seed in the AFC. Moving on to a win-and-in scenario. Jacksonville Jaguars take care of business in Duval County as they beat the Titans 20-16 and shore up the 4th seed in the playoffs. And they're 9-8. They have a winning record. They go from having the first overall pick to winning the division in one season. What a difference Doug Peterson has made. He should for sure be in the conversation when we talk about Coach of the Year. We're going to do an award show here down the stretch here where we think who should be taking some hardware home. That is not this show, but I do think Doug Peterson should be in the conversation. Joshua Dobbs, pretty solid game here for him. 20-29, nothing to hang his head, nothing to be feel down about. He played pretty well. 179, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Derrick Henry was a monster in this game. 30 carries for 109 yards. I feel like they should have fed him the rock even more. And then their tight end, man, I cannot pronounce that first name, but Okanwu had 3 catches, 42 yards, and a touchdown. On the Jacksonville Jaguars side, Trevor Lawrence did just enough to win this game as the Jacksonville Jaguars defense was dominant in this game. Trevor Lawrence, 20 of 32, 212 yards and a touchdown. Travis Etienne, 7 carries for 17 yards. Kristen Kirk, 6 catches for 99 yards. And that touchdown that I talked about, that touchdown pass was stupid nice.
Wait, who's touchdown pass? Trevor Lawrence?
Christian Kirk.
Okay. Yeah, Josh Dobbs had
Did you say
nice
Chuck Norris?
No. Josh
okay. Josh Dobbs' touchdown was nice too, but
yeah, that was a nice touchdown pass. Yeah, like his inexperience, his lack of game experience definitely showed on that last drive. It's 4th and 12. You don't throw the short route, dude. Like, if you don't do that. That's what you don't do. And then you put your running back, I think that was Hassan Haskins, in a tough spot.
It was not. 1 second. I will pull up the name. It wasn't Hassan Haskins, but
it was either way, it was like you threw it short and you're asking the guy to basically,
I think Jonathan Ward, maybe,
to break 3 tackles, and that was just, if he'd have just waited, he bailed out of the pocket too long. If he'd have just waited, he had Robert Woods, I think.
It was Hassan Haskins. I apologize.
So yeah, like if he'd just waited, he had Robert Woods for the first down. If he'd just waited that much longer, but he bailed out too early, and this is the result you get. But to your point, it's unfair to put the blame on him. They picked him up a week ago.
2 weeks ago, but yeah.
2 weeks ago, and it was, I don't know, we'll get to this guy in a minute. Like, now that Aaron Rodgers to Tennessee rumors are starting, I still think you should trade for Jordan Love because he's younger. You have him longer, and I'm not gonna what Tennessee like what Green Bay is going to do with Aaron Rodgers. Tennessee's just gonna do it too. Like I'm not doing this 1 year every year stuff of is he retiring? Is this it? Like you never know.
Well,
Like,
I think the reason that those rumors are so piping hot is because this Tennessee Titans roster outside of the quarterback position is kind of ready to win now. And if you add Aaron Rodgers, you make this a much better team. Jordan Love is still kind of a wild card.
Well, might as well figure out what he is. Like the guy, he's
Well,
how much longer you gonna ride him on the bench?
I think some team in the NFL is going to find out what he is next season for sure. So,
but I don't know if you're Tennessee. You started off great, dude. You were like 7-3, and then you lost 7 straight, and it's. I mean, you were like 1-7 in your last 8 games. Like that's just not a recipe for success. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like losing Tannehill definitely sucked.
yeah, I mean, if they don't lose Ryan Tannehill this season, I still think that they make the playoffs at some point. But yeah, losing Ryan Tannehill, having that steady force, steady quarterback play, at least somewhat steady. So we'll see. Moving on from this game, let's talk about. Also, I think Mike Vrabel should be safe. I don't think he should lose his job.
Oh yeah, I'm not losing Mike Vrabel. I'm not firing Mike Vrabel for nothing.
Mike Vrabel might be one of the better head coaches in the NFL right now.
Absolutely.
From Saturday, let's talk about Sunday as we had some upsets here on Sunday. I guess quote unquote upsets. First, Tampa Bay Buccaneers with nothing to play for went into Atlanta and got bounced 30-17. I think they were trying to play for like a quarter and a half here, and then they finally were like, you know what, it's just not worth it. Yeah, it's not worth it. If we're gonna lose, we're gonna lose. We got nothing to play for. They lose 30-17. Tom Brady 13-17, 84, 1 touchdown. Giovanni Bernard leading rusher, 7 catches for 28 yards. Chris Godwin, leading receiver for this team, as Russell Gage and Kyle Rudolph each had receiving touchdowns for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. One of those in garbage time for sure. Desmond Ridder, good game for him here. 19 of 30, 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, including his first 2 passing touchdowns as a pro. So congratulations to Desmond Ridder. Tyler Algier, 24 carries, 135 yards. But Cordell Patterson got the rushing touchdown. And Amadei Zaccheaus and Michael Pruitt had the receiving touchdowns. Drake London, solid game here to wrap up the season. 6 catches for 120 yards.
Yeah, this was so first things. Do you know this is Tom Brady's first losing season in 23 years?
I had heard that, yes.
So that's just no big deal. Hey, Tom Brady, this is your first losing season in 2 decades plus. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Tampa Bay, like what'd you say? Tom Brady threw for what, 84 yards? What's that? A quarter and a half, maybe 2 quarters?
Yeah, he played like a quarter and a half into this game, and then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were like, we're just gonna.
Yeah. We're in. We're a division winner, so we're guaranteed 1 playoff game. We're not, I'm not. No, I'm just. It is what it is. Like, it is what it is. Like this season is what it was, and it was an ugly one. All right. Yeah.
So, Blaine Gabbert came in with 3:56 left in the second quarter. They were up 17-10 at that point after the fumble by the Atlanta Falcons. And for the Atlanta Falcons, he's 7-10, pretty solid season here. I think Arthur Smith is safe. We'll talk about the Atlanta Falcons and their offseason. But
if you're Atlanta, you look back at this season and you realize a game or two, like a call or two goes your way in a couple different games. Maybe you win the South.
You win the NFC South since nobody wanted to win it all season. But yeah, Desmond Ridder, showed some moments here and there throughout the season. They're probably going to be drafting too high now to take any of those quarterbacks unless they want to take Will Levis, who might still be there. I think you roll with Desmond Ridder and you see how he handles out because the quarterback class next year is pretty good as well. With the kid from North Carolina coming out potentially, I think, and the kid from USC, Caleb Williams.
He's at Notre Dame now. So I'm talking about Sam Hartman.
No, that's the kid that was at Wake Forest. I'm talking about Sean May or Drake May or
whatever. Drake
May. Thank you.
It's like 6 Mays, bro, and they're all
related. They're all related, and they're either playing college football or college basketball.
And they all go to North Carolina.
Yeah, true. Moving on to one of the heart-welling games of the day, we had the New England Patriots going into Buffalo Orchard Park and getting bounced 35-23 as Demi Hans took the opening kickoff to a touchdown. It's the first kickoff return for the Buffalo Bills in 3 years and 3 months. How convenient it is as they were playing for Damar Hamlin, who's number 3.
Who's number 3?
Yep. Rocky game here for Mac Jones, 26 of 40, 243, 3 touchdowns, but he also threw 3 interceptions. So you got to take some of the good with some of the bad. He definitely regressed in year 2 as opposed to year 1. Ramondre Stevenson, 6 carries for 54 yards. Damian Harris came back and had 13 carries in this game. Devontae Parker and Jacoby Myers all had receiving touchdowns. Devontae Parker had 2, as he had a pretty solid season this year, actually, when he was healthy. Josh Allen, pretty solid game here. He didn't actually have to do all that much in order to win this game. 19 of 31, 3 touchdowns and a pick. James Cook, 9 carries for 45 yards. And Stephon Diggs and John Brown. John Smoke Brown, who they just signed a couple weeks ago, had a touchdown along with Dawson Knox. So Buffalo takes care of business. They get the heartwarming story. And also, as we mentioned at the top of the show, Damar Hamlin back home in Buffalo.
I thought this was going to be ugly. You take the opening kickoff to the crib. I thought they was in the 40-piece then, bro. I swear to God.
I thought so, too. I mean, they basically did the 35 points. I mean, that's
I thought they was going to go to work on him. But to your point, I think the bigger issue here is New England and the lack of progression in Mac Jones' second season. Vance Joseph called them out. He was like, the offense looks like it's being called by defensive-minded guys, and that's because it was. Matt Patricia has no offensive minded. He's not that. Joe Judge is a special teams guy.
New England cannot go into next season with the same scenario as an offensive coordinator. They just can't.
So
they have
no, they absolutely can't. We'll get into it. So the Cardinals fired Cliff Kingsbury. The Titans just fired their offensive coordinator, Todd Downing. So there's no excuse for the Patriots.
There was no excuse to begin with like that.
To not get an offensive-minded guy. There's just no excuse for that. If you're Buffalo, I mean, obviously, you touched on it when we touched on the Chiefs. The great what if is that game against the Bengals, because what happens if you win that game? What happens if you lose that game? What happens if it ends in a tie? All right, this game is just there. It's just move on.
If they beat the Cincinnati Bengals, they're the number 1 seed and they get the bye, and they have to play one less game to go to the Super Bowl.
And if you lose that game, then what? You stand pat, basically?
Yeah. I mean, I think they'd be the 3 seed. But you'd still be an upper echelon AFC team. I mean, Buffalo is still a really good team. They're still a Super Bowl contender. But yeah, I think they got, the NFL did what they could, the best of that scenario. It is what it is, I guess.
It is what it is. And he didn't just take that one. He took another one back too, 101. And it's okay. It's and then the touchdown that Stephon Diggs got, Josh Allen, it was just
yeah.
He was flat-footed, and it's just dude, when you talk quarterbacks with a big arm, most quarterbacks leave the ground in some kind of capacity to throw the ball deep. Josh Allen stood in that pocket, all 6'5" of them, flat-footed, and said, "Bah!" That's arm talent. Is just. It was just beautiful.
It was weird because announcers we're talking about Stephon Diggs has been pretty quiet in this game so far, and then literally the next play was a 40-yard bomb to the end zone for Stephon Diggs, and Josh Allen has all of the arm talent in the world. That's why he throws so many interceptions. He gets that Jay Cutler in him.
Oh, 100%. And on another touch note, they saw Jason McCourty on the sideline, very emotional. So. That was probably the last game of.
I don't think he's the only one. I think Matthew Slater is potentially. I think was his last game as a pro as well. I think both those guys are potentially going to retire.
So yeah, he was very emotional on that side. I might be confusing him with the other one because it's Devin and Jason, right?
Correct. I think Jason's already retired.
Well, yeah, we already know that one of them's already retired. So
Devin is the one that's on the team now.
Okay, this was if he was very emotional. So Devin McCourty might have play this last game in the NFL, like 12 years out of Rutgers. Him and his brother, like, yeah, it was. He's had a very solid career, very solid career.
100%. I mean, he's got a billion. I mean,
two rings, three rings,
three rings. 1 second. I will tell you in a second. He's got 3 Super Bowl rings. He won a
Super Bowl rings.
Yeah, he won Super Bowl XLIX, LI, and LI3. I know 51, 53. I don't know what XLI is. What is that? 49?
I'm pretty sure he won the one against the Seahawks. Pretty sure he was on that team.
He did. So I think that was Super Bowl 49. But yeah,
Rams. He beat the Rams team, and was that the last one they won?
Yes, and he won one in between those 2 games. So he won he was on that game. I was on that team to beat the Falcons too.
Okay,
so,
the 28-3 team. Okay.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, Patriots, yeah, they got some offseason. We'll get to them when we talk about their offseason. But yeah, Mac Jones not as good in year 2 as he was in year 1, and they have to shore up what's going on with this coaching staff. For Buffalo, kudos, you got a good win. They can seal up the 2nd seed in the AFC. Moving on from that, let's talk about the Chicago Bears as the Minnesota Vikings go into Soldiers Field and beat the Chicago Bears and Nathan Peterman after and Tim Boyle as they played basically roulette with quarterback there. Yeah. Minnesota Vikings 29-13 over the Chicago Bears. And with this loss, the Chicago Bears and the game we'll talk about here later, Chicago Bears sew up the first overall draft pick. There will be the first team that we do in our team season off-season preview. I'm not sure exactly when those episodes are going to air. Keep an eye out for that stuff as Pride Sports World previews every team's offseason as they start season winds down here. Kirk Cousins played, I think, a half or so. It's 17-20, 225, 1 touchdown. Yeah. Nick Bullins came in and threw a pick. Alexander Madison filled in for Dalvin Cook. When Dalvin Cook got hurt early, he came back. But Alexander Madison, 2 touchdowns. And KJ Osborne wrapping up a really nice season for KJ Osborne here, especially down the stretch. 5 catches for 117 yards. Adam Thielen had the 1 receiving touchdown. Pretty quiet game for Justin Jefferson as he did not even get close to Calvin Johnson's record. Nathan Peterman, 11-19, 114 yards and a touchdown. Tim Boyle threw 2 picks. Velus Jones Jr. had the lone rushing touchdown for this team. And Cole Kmet, another solid season for Cole Kmet. 4 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. But yeah, Minnesota, they got the 3 seed as San Francisco won later. But the Bears, 3-14, first overall pick. They can do a lot of things with that first overall pick. They can take somebody there, or they can trade back. I work in Fort Wayne, right? And
you said that.
I have a lot of Colts fans that work in my newsroom. I said if they were willing to give us their first round pick, Darius Leonard, Shaquille Leonard, and Quentin Nelson, I would make that trade.
I think it would have to be one or the other. I don't think they give up both.
The Bears are setting the price. Like, give us both of those guys and a first and your first.
I understand the Bears are setting the price, but I'm saying if I'm the Colts, I'm not parting with both. It's one or the other.
Well, then I guess you're not going to get the first overall pick.
So like it's either. So like if I'm the Colts, I'm basically putting the Bears in this. I'm basically putting the Colts in a situation of who do you value more, Darius Leonard or Quentin Nelson? And in the way the game is played now, the more valuable piece in that puzzle is Quentin Nelson,
who wasn't good at all this season, by the way.
Nah. No. So yeah, like it's a lot can go right, and also, I'm just getting it out there because we're gonna talk about it anyway when we do the off-season preview. Stop talking about drafting Bryce Young. It's not happening. They're not getting off of Justin Fields. It's not happening.
Justin Fields, who was good this season, right? You put some legit weapons around him. Like
it's like Shannon Sharp said it best. If you're asking questions about Justin, like if you don't think Justin Fields is the answer, you're asking the wrong questions. So like. I love him dearly. My brother, my cousin, my brother is on the we need to draft Bryce Young train. I'm like, yeah, put another young quarterback behind this trash offensive line and get them killed. Yeah, that's the recipe for success right there. No, we ain't changing nothing. We just switching out the quarterback And because that's just gonna like LaShawn McCoy thinks the same thing. We just need to draft one of these young quarterbacks and build around them. Oh, you mean the same thing we're doing around Justin Fields? I don't understand how Bears fans gave Mitch Trubisky 4 years to get right, but they're ready to move off of Fields after a year and a half.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, I would. There's no way I would take a quarterback at the first overall. I would take Will Anderson before I did that, or Jalen Carter. But for Minnesota, this is a get right game after what was a terrible performance against the Green Bay Packers. You kind of needed this little pick me up before the playoffs. So good for Minnesota. Chicago, more to be talking about them down the stretch
For
here.
a long, the whole 8 months of it's going to be 8 months of the Bears need to move off of Justin Fields and draft.
The draft is in April, so it won't be 8 months.
Well, whatever.
Moving on from this game, the battle for the AFC title, sort of. Now I have to coin flip who was going to host that game. Cincinnati at 27-16, win 27-16 over the Baltimore Ravens, who basically benched all of their legitimate starters. Started Anthony Brown at quarterback with varying mixed results for him. 19-44, 286, and 2 interceptions. And Drake had the lone rushing touchdown for this team. Zay Likely had a really good game here, 8 for 103, as Mark Andrews did not play in this game. Joe Burrow did enough to win the game. A little bit inefficient, but we'll take it. 25-42, 215, 1 touchdown. Joe Mixon had a rushing touchdown. Jamar Chase had a receiving touchdown. His receiving touchdown is stupid nice if you have not seen it. Jamar Chase's.
Yeah, I think the defense. I forgot who did it, but Sammy Watkins caught the ball, and as he was going to the ground, he basically just got the ball straight up ripped from him, and it was like, holy.
Yeah, Von Bell is the one that recovered that fumble. I do not remember who forced it. It may have been Jesse Bates.
Like he just went right in and took it from him. It was like, Jesus Christ. Okay. But yeah, like if I'm the Ravens, obviously like this season has been basically hijacked by the what's the plan with Lamar Jackson narrative. And that's terrible because if I'm Lamar Jackson, again, I don't know what more I need to do to justify why you need to pay me what I'm asking for. I also don't understand why no offer or any that we know of has been brought to the table. Like,
well, I don't think you're allowed to negotiate mid-season.
Well, you had the off season, like this past off season.
Yeah, I just don't think they were able to come to terms to a contract. I do think there was conversation, there was some offer. I just don't think it was what Lamar Jackson wanted. The Ravens are trying to lowball him, didn't work out. They're gonna have to pay him what he wants now. I mean, this was two different. The Ravens with and without Lamar Jackson are two different teams.
That they are. But yeah, it's I don't know if these are two teams that playoffs are guaranteed for both. I don't think this game impacted seeding in any way, shape, or form, did it?
Well, so if the Baltimore Ravens had won this game, and the Chargers had also, I think, won that game as well, they would have been a coin flip to see who hosts the that playoff game between the Bengals and the Ravens. But I'm not exactly sure why. I never really understood
either.
Because the Bengals clinched the division, but because of the winning percentage, I think the Ravens would have a better. I don't actually know. All I know is that there was a Ravens scenario where if the Ravens beat the Bengals and the Chargers won, there would be a coin flip to see who hosted that first round playoff game between the Bengals and the Ravens. Bengals took care of business, so all of that is a moot point.
That it is. Next game.
Yeah. Moving on from the next game, we'll talk about the one that cost Lovie Smith his job. Houston Texans go into Indianapolis and beat the Colts 32-31 on a last-second touchdown by Izzy's boy, Davis Mills. I don't understand why Jeff Driscoll gets so many passes. Like, did they use him as like some kind of shot? I didn't watch this game, but it always seems like Jeff Driscoll has random stats in Houston Texans games. Like, I don't really understand what they're doing. But Davis Mills, 22 of 38, 298, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Dare Agawali, 11 for 33. Brandon Cooks bounced back, 5 for 106. Jordan Akins had 2 touchdowns in this game, including the Hail Mary that he caught, which went right through the defender's hands. Like he couldn't. Like all you do is bat it down. You don't have to catch it. It's 4th down. They won the game. I honestly think the Colts threw the game. I think they were like, yeah, let's try to lose. Sammy Ellinger wildly up and down. 23 of 35, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Zach Moss, solid game here. 118, 114, 1 touchdown. And Michael Pittman and Mo Elliott Cox caught the touchdowns for the Colts. As this game, 32-31, also locked up the number 1 pick for the Chicago Bears and also cost Lovie Smith his job. I'm not.
Well, that part of this. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Do you think if the Colts had won this game and things had just gone to plan, would Lovie Smith still have his job today?
I don't know. Like, there's no telling with the Texans. They're just so poorly ran. They probably would have fired him anyway. But that being said, that's what I make that point all the time about teams that are bad. You really think the players on the team right now give a damn about the number 1 overall pick? No, they want to win.
I mean, they're in bonuses, incentives. Like they want to hit those bonuses. They want to win games.
They want to hit those bonuses. They want to hit those incentives. Like I made a joke yesterday about Kenny Galladay. Like he caught 2 passes yesterday, 1 for a touchdown. I'm like,
touchdown
great.
Was nasty.
It was, and I'm like, great. 74 more catches, he gets a bonus.
Yeah, 750,000.
Right, like only 74 more catches now, he gets a bonus. Like you don't think Kenny Galladay is pissed off that he had a terrible, terrible, terrible season? Like these players on the Houston Texans don't give a damn about the number 1 overall pick, and I wish fans would really understand and care about that. Like, yo, they don't care about the number 1 overall pick. They don't
because
care
on
about
top of that, most
team.
of the players on that roster are not going to be there to benefit from having the first overall
that
pick.
number 1 overall pick. Like they don't care about that. They don't care about your fantasy team. They don't care about your parlay. They don't care about none of that stuff. Why? Because it doesn't affect them. It don't. So like for the Texans to fire Lovie Smith, it just pretty much tells me that no matter what, they were probably going to fire him anyway. And again, it's the leaky boat. It's the leaky boat analogy, right? I'm giving you this leaky boat that's full of holes, and I'm asking you to bring it back to shore to keep it from sinking. Not only do you have to bring it back from shore, you got to keep it from sinking. Like you're constantly having to use barrels and buckets to get the water out. It's constantly sinking. Oh, and you got to sail back to shore. By the way, like just to you got to do all that while managing somehow to bring it back home. No, so like the Texans don't. Colin Cowherd said the dumbest thing today. He's like the Bears are closer to the Texans than they think, and I'm like, dude, like why? Like how? How are the Bears worse than the Texans? Because the Texans have won the division a couple times in the last few years. What good has that gotten them? Oh, the quarterback was a serial molester. That's what it got them. It got them a racist owner who died and passed it down to probably his lesser racist son, for what it's worth. But yeah, the Texans are, ran better than the Bears. Sure, Colin. Keep thinking that.
Man.
Another thing. This did not cost you Bryce Young, Texans fans. If you still want Bryce Young, guess what you can do? You can still get him at number 2.
Or you could trade up to get him.
Because the Bears aren't going quarterback. So like, stop with the he cost us this. First off, Houston, no one was going to trade up for you. You need a quarterback. We know that. Unless you're that sold on Davis Mills.
Which, come on. Yeah, we'll talk about the Houston Texans in their offseason. But yeah, this is 2 years in a row where they basically have given a head coach no opportunity or no chance whatsoever, and then fired him when things don't go well. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Having this stopgap, like if there's a guy you want to hire him. Like none of this nonsense of just giving a guy an opportunity and then firing him one season later. It just doesn't. It's not a good way to build a franchise. It just doesn't. You start to lose your fan base. You start to lose your players.
Like I would like I don't see how they even have a fan base after this, bro. Like what? Like first off, So like they fired Lovie Smith, and like they already named like D'Amico Ryans, and I forgot who else as a candidate for the job. If I'm those two, I don't want this job.
I
You
don't want
kidding
this job
me?
either. And then you just, especially D'Amico Ryans. If I'm D'Amico Ryans, I'm not touching this job with a
I'm
10
not
foot pole.
touching this job. I'm like, boss,
I would rather stay in San Francisco if I was D'Amico Ryans. I'm gonna go to Houston and have a terrible season and then get fired immediately. Like, no, I'm gonna
after
stay
one
as
season. No,
yeah,
I'm not doing
yeah.
that.
Good luck. Yeah,
I'm not.
Houston Texans are gonna have a hard time hiring somebody. They're gonna end up with somebody like Jeff Saturday or Josh McCown, who's a failed high school coach. From this game, we're talking about a game with playoff implications. The New York Jets, who got eliminated going into South Beach and losing to the Miami Dolphins 11-6. This was a snooze of a game for real. Like it was horrible to watch.
Unless you like defenses. Unless you like
it wasn't even good defense. It was just woefully bad offense. Like for real. Like it just was the worst offense like ever. Joe Flacco, 18 of 33, 149. Zovan Knight, 12 carries for 22 yards. Garrett Wilson wrapping up a really solid rookie season, actually 9 catches for 89 yards. Skylar Thompson, 20 of 31. If he's the starting quarterback for Miami in their playoff game, they are cooked.
Good luck. They're going home. They're going
20
home.
of 31, 151 yards, 52 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Jeff Wilson, 16 for 75. Mike Gesicki sighting, 4 catches for 46 yards. It's just no touchdown. Yeah, he's playing on the franchise tag right now. Tyreek Hill got injured at some point during this game. It's just a abysmal offense, but the Miami Dolphins did enough to make the playoffs. So there's that.
Yeah, they ended the drought. They ended their playoff drought. Yeah, to your point, that it was just first off, Joe Flacco, hell of a career, dude. Nice. It was nice watching you all these many years. Like your playoff run will go down in the history books as one of the best ever. I'm serious. You went on the playoff stretch where you threw 11 touchdowns and no picks, and you won the Super Bowl. Yeah, Flacco, hell of a career, dude. If you haven't said it yet, I'm saying it for you. Yeah, Flacco's retiring. Yeah, he's done. Cooked.
Let's not be. His birthday's coming up. Let's not be super rude.
Happy birthday! Enjoy retirement. Here at the Prime, we fire coaches, we cut players, and we retire them early, even if they don't know it. No, I'm serious though. So like, if you're the Jets, obviously the question at hand is the quarterback situation. What do you do? Derek Carr is going to be out there. Do you trade for Derek Carr?
Tom Brady's going to be available potentially.
Do you throw the Brinks truck if you can at Lamar Jackson?
I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see what the Jets end up doing in their offseason. We'll get to that when we get to that. But Miami, yeah, you had to win this game. Kudos.
Yeah,
you skaked out a victory. Moving over to the NFC South, let's talk about the Carolina Panthers also squeaking out a victory against the New Orleans Saints. Another snooze fest of a game, 10-7 as they beat New Orleans in the final game of the season. We'll see if Steve Wilkes did enough to keep his job. I do not think so. Sam Darnold, 5 of 15, 2 picks. Chuba Hubbard, 21 of 69. Terrence Marshall Jr., 2 for 23. It's just abysmal on offense all around for the Carolina Panthers. Not much better for the Andy Dalton-led New Orleans Saints. 15 of 25, 171, 1 touchdown. Alvin Kamara, 23 carries for 107 yards. Chris Olave, 5 for 61, touchdown. I'm not even sure how Carolina scored their touchdown in this game.
I didn't see it either. Again, when we'll do it. Saints.
Oh yeah, they had that Michael Jordan fumble recovery in the end zone.
Oh yeah,
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan NFL touchdowns 1. LeBron James 0. No, I'm kidding. What you call like so? Yeah, when we do it, we'll do it. Disappointing team. Saints are definitely on that list. It was just a bunch of blah. That's what it was. It was like bad gumbo for my Louisiana folks. It was like bad gumbo. I don't know how you mess up gumbo because I ain't never cooked gumbo, but that's what it was for them. It was bad gumbo for them. At some point in time, Jameis Winston was healthy enough to play, and they just never went back to him. Like they just, we're gonna.
The worst part about it, like the Saints had every incentive in the world to make the playoffs. They did not have a first round pick this year.
Yeah, like it
I kinda,
was. Yeah, it just didn't make any sense. Like what are you doing? Like what was like legit? What was the plan? Like I feel like they went into the season with no plan whatsoever, and it came back and it cooked them. Right, it came back to bite them. I still think the Michael Thomas situation was handled terribly. Um,
well, he's talking about restructuring his contract for next
they
season.
they did it already.
Oh, okay.
They
He's gonna
saved like
he's gonna be out the door.
14 million in cap, I think,
Yeah.
for whatever good that does them.
I mean, I don't know what quarterbacks are going to be available. Like, I can't imagine like Derek Carr, I guess potentially, or even Aaron Rodgers. We'll get to all these scenarios when we
We'll
get to
get
the
to all
offseason
that.
stuff. But
Yeah,
yeah, no, Steve Wilkes, whatever. They're also going to get some sort of compensation from Sean Payton at some point, unless he doesn't coach this season. Which all the writing on the wall says he's going to coach this season. The Saints are going to get some sort of draft compensation for him.
yeah, because the Broncos want them, and yeah, all that
Yeah.
other good stuff.
I mean, every team in the NFL is gonna. But the problem with the Broncos, we'll get to their offseason, but like Vance Joseph is part of the Sean Payton super
Tree.
coaching staff that he wants to bring with him. And do you think Vance Joseph's when they want to go back to Denver, a guy they fired after one season? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Moving on from this game, let's talk about the AFC North. As Pittsburgh Steelers did enough to try to make the playoffs, got the winning record from Mike Tomlin as they beat the Cleveland Browns 28-14. Deshaun Watson, man, really up and down for this game. 19-29, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Nick Chubb, 12 of 77. He also had his first receiving touchdown of the season. 5 catches, 45. David Njoku had the other receiving touchdown. Kenny Pickett had a pretty solid rookie season, all things considered. Pressed down the stretch here, but 13 of 29, 1 touchdown. Najee Harris, 23 of 84, 1 touchdown. George Pickens, 3 for 72, 1 touchdown. That is a trio that you can definitely build around as you move forward.
You said Pickett,
Harris, Pickens.
Yeah. Again, 16 years. 16 years, no losing seasons. That's hard. That's hard. Now, I understand for 14 of that, he had Big Ben.
Yeah.
And I get that. Like, I understand that. For a bulk of that, you had Big Ben. You had the great Troy Polamalu. You had James Harrison. You had a bunch of great players along the way. But guess what? You still got to play. You still got to win the games. You still got to put that work in. And again, Steeler fans, please keep calling for his job. I dare you. He'd have a job in an hour.
He would. He would be the most highly sought after coaching prospect maybe ever.
He'd have a job in an hour. Like, I don't understand it. Like, just appreciate the greatness while you have it. Seriously. You kind of hit it. Like, you have your foundation. Pickett, Pickens, Harris. You just got to build up front. You still got T.J. Watt anchoring your defense. You got
Minka Fitzpatrick, who's still a solid player.
You got Minka Fitzpatrick. Like, you basically got playmakers at all 3 levels. I think
Cameron Hayward, still a good player, borderline Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So we'll talk about the Steelers here winding down the stretch here. But yeah, continue. And I think the Browns, they have some real source what to do in the offseason, what the team's going to look like.
Next season, no excuses. No excuses. Like, you're going to have Deshaun Watson fully focused. He can just literally focus on football, nothing else.
I think the conversation around Kevin Stefanski's job may not be interesting. I think he's done enough to secure that job, but we'll see.
Oh, for this season, yeah. Next season, this season was pretty much a wash.
I agree.
For the Cleveland Browns because they knew Deshaun Watson was going to be gone for some kind of time period. Like, yeah, this season was a wash for them. Like, but next season, no excuses, none, absolutely none.
From the AFC North, let's talk about the AFC West as the Los Angeles Chargers played their starters for a majority of this game, but still came up short against the Denver Broncos 28-31. That other touchdown was kind of in garbage time when Chase Daniels in the game. It kind of the real turning point, I think, for this game was when Mike Williams got hurt during this game and literally like couldn't get off the field, and they had to use the cart to get him off the field, and then they had to like carry him to the locker room from there. I hope that's nothing serious. I have not looked into the reports to see what that was. But after that, the Chargers, they let Justin Herbert play like one more series after that, and they were like after they pulled the plug shortly after that. But Chargers, Justin Herbert, 25 of 37, 273 and 2 touchdowns. Austin Eckler, 11 for 34. Keenan Allen had 2 touchdowns in this game. I'm going to look up that Mike Williams thing here in a second. Russell Wilson end up the season on kind of a high mode here. 13 and 24, 283, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Latavius Murray continues to be a solid running back for them. 15, 103 and 1 touchdown. Cortland Sutton and Tyler Batty. On his first NFL catch, gets his first NFL touchdown. And Eric Tomlinson had receiving touchdowns for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, probably the leader, like the head of the club, the head of the table, the disappointing team.
Hey, don't you disrespect season. Roman Reigns like that.
Probably the head of the table in the disappointing team club this season is.
Roman Reigns, he's the head of the table.
I know.
Okay.
But the head of the table in this situation is the Denver Broncos with.
Well, you can't even talk about head of the table. Like Roman Reigns gets really upset.
Oh man, what he gonna do? Come find me?
Maybe. He's got a bloodline. They'll come after you.
Yeah, sure. It's like all we heard for basically 3 years is
let's ride, baby.
The Broncos are a quarterback away. They're a quarterback away. They're a quarterback away. Because they had weapons and they had everything you needed to be great. They just needed a quarterback. And you finally get the guy that you think is going to get you over the hump. And it was awful. Cost a man his job in Nathaniel Hackett. It was...
Nathaniel Hackett cost himself his job. Let's not play around like he wasn't part of the problem here.
I wasn't absolving him of any blame, but it happened. Like, bro, team play also team play also plays a role in how you look, like how the coach is deemed, right? If your team is good, it's more credit goes to the coach. If your team is bad, if they like you, they'll be like, oh, well, this is why. They'll make excuses for you, right? But Nathaniel Hackett is, again, I kind of felt like he was left out to dry. Like, once they couldn't land Aaron Rodgers, then it was they were pretty much in scramble mode because it's like, yo, we need a quarterback. We need a guy.
I agree with you.
We need a guy. And they did what they did to get Russell Wilson. And here we are. They can't forget, like, they can't wait to start next season fast enough. Like, they really can't.
Yeah, they can't. And I think they're going to end up with Sean Payton as their head coach. We'll see how that ends up shaking out for the Chargers. Also, the Mike Williams is just a back contusion. MRIs came back pretty positive. Should be able to practice at some point this week. But at the time, when I was watching that line, that injury looked terrible.
It looked bad? Okay.
It looked real bad. Not necessarily the injury looked bad, just like the way he walked around after it. Like, he literally couldn't walk to the locker room. Like, he had to be, like, sort of, carried to the locker room. It looked rough. I don't know. Look. Moving on from this game, let's talk about the NFC East as the Philadelphia Eagles locked up the division and the number 1 seed throughout the NFC as they beat the New York Giants that were not playing their starters 22-16. But Davis Webb was actually solid in this game. 23 of 40, 168, 1 touchdown. Gary Brightwell, 11 carries for 60 yards. And as we mentioned at the top of the show, sort of in the middle actually, Kenny Golladay had the lone receiving touchdown. Our boy from NIU, 2 catches for 30 yards, including that touchdown, which you have not seen it. It is nasty. It is nasty. It's an impressive touchdown. Like, the dude has talent. On the Philadelphia side, Jalen Hurts, 20 of 35, 1 interception. Boston Scott had a touchdown. A.J. Brown, 4 for 95, as the Eagles pull off the victory, 22-16. Giants try to make this interesting late, but they just ran out of time, sort of, as they couldn't pick up the onside kick.
So, yeah, again, if you're the Giants, I think Daniel Jones did enough this season to get some kind of deal from you. You're in the playoffs, right? Great, excellent.
You're ahead
Um,
of schedule.
you're ahead of basically. Brian Daboll, Coach of the Year, not just votes. He's probably gonna be the winner. Um, read off the numbers again. Who did what now? I know Kenny got. It's really not important. It's really not important. Like if you're Jalen Hurts, I mean, if you're the Eagles fan and Jalen Hurts played this game, like yeah, you pretty much just wanted him to quote unquote
20,
knock off
20
the
of
rust.
35, 229 and a pick. Did not throw a touchdown in this game.
Jalen Hurts.
He also didn't run his usual profile, I guess is what you want to say. He only had 9 carries in this game, but I think in normal Jalen Hurts healthy has way more than this.
Yeah. You pretty much just want to knock off the rust and all that good stuff. Like just get your feeling for the game back because you only missed 3 weeks, but it was. It's like, oh, I'm playing in this last game, and you kind of needed to play because you needed to lock up number 1 seed. So, yeah, if you're the Eagles, just keep riding the train that is that what you've been riding all season, right? Are you the Super Bowl favorite, or is it the Chiefs?
I think I think they're all kind of pretty close when it comes to Super
Pretty
Bowl
close?
favorites. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, Eagles, Chiefs, and Bills and Bengals. I think they're all in the conversation when it comes to and 49ers.
Obviously, if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, the only team that concerns me, really, I'm being honest, on the NFC side is the San Francisco 49ers. Like, and I don't think it's close because they can match you tit for tat in any kind of style of football you want to play. You want to play up and down, they can do that. You want to be physical, they can definitely do that. They probably prefer the physical style.
I agree with you. Moving on, let's talk about the San Francisco 49ers as they welcome in the Arizona Cardinals for their final home game of the season, and they beat the Cardinals and this didn't necessarily cost Cliff Kingsbury his job, but the collective of this season basically signed his walking papers. They win 38-13. David Blau got the start for the Arizona Cardinals. He went 14 of 18, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Corey Clement, 8-23 and a touchdown. AJ Green rolling back the clock here a little bit, 3 catches for 91 yards and a touchdown. Brock Purdy continues his excellent play as being named the starter for San Francisco, as they kind of needed this game in order to show up the number 2 seed. So good for them. 15-20, 3 touchdowns. Elijah Mitchell activated off IR for the game, had 2 touchdowns in this game. Chris McCaffrey and George Kittle had 2 touchdowns, and his down the stretch has been incredible. George Kittle has been amazing so far down the stretch of this season. I think he has like 8 touchdowns in the last 8 games, something like that. But yeah, San Francisco will take care of the business.
McCaffrey, like you said, McCaffrey or Kittle?
Kittle. So Kittle, his last 4 games, he's got 7 touchdowns in the last 4 games.
How many does McCaffrey have since being traded to them?
A lot. I
like total, like running and catching. Like I think the number's like 10 total touchdowns since being traded to them.
So 4, 6, 10 touchdowns since you joined the San Francisco 49ers. He's played 11 games for them. He's had 10 touchdowns, so every game but 1.
Every game he's played, he had a touchdown. Oh my God! Yeah, all right. So the Cardinals again, terrible season. Kind of got lost in the sauce with the suspension of DeAndre Hopkins, which we touched on when it first happened. We were kind of like, hey, we kind of have to readdress their first 8 games because him not being there is huge. And we were kind of like, if you can stay afloat during those 7 or 8 games, you can go 4-8. I mean 4-8, 4-4, 3 and whatever. If it didn't get too far away from you, then you'll be in play for it. But it was just up and down, up and down. Then you lose Kyler for the entire season.
And most of next season as well.
And most of next season. And then,
which is why I kind of thought maybe they'd keep Clint Kingsbury there, because now they're going to be paying 2 head coaches next season for what could essentially be a throwaway season. But
Right, and on top of that, so like you fired Cliff Kingsbury after you gave him an extension, which
correct.
to me I will never understand because like you said, like now whoever you hire, you're paying both coaches, and the NFL then released a statement like, hey, pretty much saying like, hey, stop firing coaches while they're on deals. Stop that.
Here's the thing: owners don't care. They have money. They don't care. It's not counting against their salary cap. It doesn't make. It has no. They don't. There's no incentive to keep a head coach if you don't want to.
But when that turns into billions, when they reach the billion threshold of coaches they done paid out,
Yeah, true.
then they
But
gonna
yeah,
be like, all right,
San Francisco for sure took care of business. They're the number 2 seed in the NFC. They're gonna be a tough out.
oh hell yeah. I mean, all you're asking Brock Purdy to do is not mess it up, and yeah, just luckily for him, the parts around him are healthy, and so he looks a lot better than probably what he actually is. Also, Niners fans, Brock Purdy's not better than Justin Fields. Please stop. He's not.
He has a way better offensive line and way better
I'm
weapons.
this is a real easy fix. Flip the script. Put Justin Fields in that situation. Put any other quarterback in here. Like they're gonna look terrible. They're gonna be bad. So
Sure.
just please kill that.
Moving on from this game, we got the Seattle Seahawks, who, because the Green Bay Packers lost, which we'll get to, they are going to be the 7th seed in the NFC. They beat the Los Angeles Rams in overtime, 19-16. Baker Mayfield, 13-26, 147, a pick. Cam Akers, 21, 104. Van Jefferson, 3 catches for 61 yards. On the Geno Smith side of this, 19 for 31, 213 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Kenneth Walker, probably going to be the offensive rookie of the year, potentially. 29 for 114. Tyler Lockett, 4 catches, 54 yards, and a touchdown. His touchdown is nice. It's a Tyler Lockett touchdown. It's just really nice.
It's a Tyler Lockett touchdown.
It's true.
Tyler Lockett also went over 1,000 yards this season, so that's his.
And he missed some time too, so it's really impressive.
That's his 6th or 7th time going over 1,000 yards.
And so I'm happy for the Seattle. I'm happy for Geno Smith. He also passed Russell Wilson for most passing yards in franchise history.
For a season?
Yeah. That Jalen Ramsey off unnecessary roughness penalty in overtime.
Talk about it. Go ahead.
I just don't think it's a good call. Like, what was Jalen Ramsey supposed to do? Like, he's standing out of bounds, and Geno Smith basically ran into him, and so Jalen Ramsey is bracing himself for impact, and it's a flag on Jalen Ramsey. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, when you watched it, I was like, man, that's not a good call. Like, and basically it cost the Seahawks, it cost the Rams the game, and essentially. And what is Jalen Ramsey supposed to do in that scenario? Like, he's standing there on the sidelines. Geno Smith runs directly into him, and it's a flag on Jalen Ramsey. I just don't like that call. I just don't.
Again, it's if I'm a defender. I'm already playing with my whatever your dominant hand is. So in my situation, I'm right-handed. If I was an NFL defender, you're making me play with my right hand tied behind my back. Right? I can't do anything. I can only hit a player in this square of a window, and if I hit him outside that square of a window, I run the risk of running a penalty. To your point, Jalen Ramsey was literally just like Geno Smith ran to him.
Yeah. Geno Smith knew what he was doing. He bathed the refs and he won. I mean, yeah, that's just the way it goes. And they missed a blatant, like, that face mask. Like, he basically put his hand in Jalen Ramsey's face mask after that by DK Metcalf. I just don't like that particular call. I still think the Seattle Seahawks deserve to win the game. I just didn't like that call. We'll talk about the Rams here in the season preview at some point, but I think Sean McVay may have coached his last game, at least for a while. He wants to deal with his family. He just had a kid, I think, or he just got married. I think he wants to start a family. He can't really do that as a coach in the NFL. So I think Sean McVay may walk away from the Rams. He's going to get a job in the booth somewhere. He might be the best analyst they have if they get him like one of those Booth guys. But
the
offseason is very murky at best for the Rams.
The rumor was he becomes the new play-by-play analyst guy for Thursday night.
I would love that. I mean, Kirk Herbstreit's been fine, but I think they need it. I think they need somebody else.
Herbstreit goes back to ESPN, does the college.
I mean, he already does ESPN too, so he's double dipping.
Like that's what he's great at. That's what he's better at. He's a better college football guy than NBA guy. You think, right?
Yeah.
NFL guy. I'm sorry. And yeah, so like if you're McVay, you're just you go to the booth for a year until you become a coach again, and that's what you do. It's like I don't know, like the Rams again, like they got beat to hell. They gave up all the draft capital for a Super Bowl. In the end, they probably would do it all over again if it meant them winning the Super Bowl.
100%. And congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks for going to the playoffs. To the final game in the late afternoon window as the Dallas Cowboys lead a goose egg in Landover, Maryland against the Washington Commanders, and Sam Howell making his first NFL start. The Cowboys lose this game 26-6. Dak Prescott 14-37, 128, one touchdown, one pick. That was a pick. 6. Malik Davis, five carries for 19 yards. CeeDee Lamb, 5 for 52 and a touchdown. Sam Howell, actually pretty solid game for his first NFL start. 11 of 19, 169, one touchdown and one interception. Garrett Patterson led them in rushing, 17 for 78. Scary Terry McLaurin led the rushing and receiving, 3 for 74 and a touchdown. Dallas, they had something to play for here, and they just laid a goose egg for real. Because at the time, they did not know that the Philadelphia Eagles were going to win. Like that game was still up in the air. The San Francisco 49ers game was still up in the air. They could have been the number 1 seed in the NFC if things had shaken out the way in a positive way for Dallas. And for them to show up and play like this, pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, that was bad. I think they fall into the no tape trap. Like there's no tape on Sam Howell outside of what he did.
I guess. I mean,
at college. Like
people know what
I'm asking, like, did they fall into that trap?
I mean, maybe. He's got some athleticism. He's got a cannon for a rocket for an arm.
I think at the same time, there are certain teams that are just too good to fall into that trap, and I think teams like the Eagles, teams like Buffalo, teams like KC, Dallas, you're structured to play anybody, anywhere, at any time, and for you to put out that performance with a division on the line basically is terrible. What was the preparation? Like, what was that? Like, did you? I don't understand that. Also, if you're Washington, do you go forward with Sam Howell at quarterback next season? Like, that's an off-season question. So I don't know what the plan is. I don't know what the plan is for.
I think Washington is in limbo until Dan Snyder sells the team.
Oh, dude, they are in total limbo. Which, if they sell the team, you know what else could happen? Another name change.
Maybe. I mean, the Commander name is bad, anyways. The Commanders. We'll see what ends up happening. We'll talk about them. I think Ron Rivera is probably safe as a head coach there, unless the new ownership gets there and they just want to clean house, which could be a thing. But I don't know. To the final game, Sunday night football, as the Detroit Lions go into Lambeau with nothing to play for and beat the Green Bay Packers 20-16, officially eliminating them from playoff contention. And they also have a winning season. Kudos to Detroit Lions from the second overall pick to a winning record under Dan Campbell, who's a pretty solid head coach, I would say. They win 20-16. Jared Goff, 23 of 34, 224, no touchdowns and no interceptions. Jamal Williams broke Barry Sanders' record for rushing touchdowns in a season. So kudos to him as 16 for 72 and 2 touchdowns. Khalif Raymond, I swear, dude, 4 for 65 is the leading receiver for the Detroit Lions. And then Aaron Rodgers, just 17 to 27, 205, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. That could be his last throw ever as a Green Bay Packer, or potentially last throw ever as a quarterback in the National Football League if he does decide hang him up. Aaron Jones, 12 of 48, no touchdowns. Christian Watson, down the stretch here, really solid rookie season. 5 for 104, and Leon Lazar.
Imagine if he wasn't in Aaron Rodgers' doghouse for the first 2 months of the season, what he could have done.
Leon Lazar had the lone receiving touchdown, but overall, Aaron Rodgers wasn't particularly sharp, wasn't particularly good in this game. The interception he threw was bad. Really, like, total misread of the defense, just terrible decision. And Detroit Lions, kudos to you. And also, the Aaron Rodgers thing with the end of the game where Jameson Williams asked him for a jersey swap, and Aaron Rodgers said, I kind of want to hang on to this jersey. It's just Aaron Rodgers just being Aaron Rodgers. He wants to make every moment about him. Like, it can't be just like it's just like, hey, every moment of the NFL season has to be about Aaron Rodgers. Like, your team just gets bounced to the playoffs. How can I make a headline while not being involved in the playoffs? I can like let that slip. Like, oh no, I think I'm going to keep this jersey. Like, it's so vague. Like, it doesn't mean anything, but people are going to blow it out of proportion. Because I already did. Like, as soon as he said it, I was like, holy cow! Did you hear what he said? It literally could be nothing.
And like, I don't want. Okay, I made 8 months. Okay, it might not be 8 months. I don't want 6 months of. Is this it for Aaron Rodgers? What are the Packers going to do? Because you want to know why? We've been doing this for the last 3 years.
This is exactly what Brett Favre did. He's just taking it right out of the Brett Favre playbook.
And what's happened the last 3 years? He suited like the guy that said they're leaving. Like, this might be it. I don't know. I have options. No, you don't. Why? Because they gave you $60 million for next season. You're not going anywhere. They're not eating that kind of cap. And no team is taking that kind of cap hit. They're not doing it. It's not worth it. Not worth it. So stop with the woe is me, I don't know what I'm gonna do attitude, bro. Like, you suck. You're playing the media like a fiddle, and I am pissed off at the media for falling for the fiddle every time. They fall for it every time. Like, all you have to do is be like, you know what? I'm not giving Aaron Rodgers the time of day this time. Like, no, just not doing it. It's that easy.
And Izzy might be getting close to having that extravaganza.
Like, it's just
And shout out to Detroit. Good win here. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers.
Oh man, Detroit gonna be a problem.
Yeah, that defense continues to get younger, get better.
Jameson Williams gonna be an issue because
and they got 2 first-round picks.
All right, that touchdown he had, they got called back because of the hold. Like, oh my God, bro, he caught like it was a drag route, and he caught not a drag route, a crossing route, and he turned that into a touchdown. It's like, dude, this is Jameson Williams, Aiden Hutchinson for the next 10 years. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be super nice. We'll see how things end up shaking out here for both these teams in the offseason. We'll get to that, but yeah, as it stands, Aaron Rodgers is so good. Like, he's just so good at playing the media. Like, oh hey, my team's not gonna be the playoffs. How can I still be a headline? Just have that little moment with James Williams where you just refuse to trade the jersey with him because you might want to keep it because it might be the last time you play for the Packers. Like,
oh, and what else can I do? Oh, I'm gonna be like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what the plan is. It'll be what you call it. It'll be cocky of me to think that I'm just gonna automatically be back next season. Dude, you already said you were coming back next season. You already said it.
Moving on as we wrap up here, week number 18. Let's do as we normally do on Tuesday. But since there's no recap show for Monday Night Football tomorrow, let's talk about game balls. TJ, go first.
All right, my game ball of the week will probably it's got to be Sam Howell. For like, we killed that decision. We like, oh, you're feeding Sam Howell to the Dallas Cowboys. His first NFL game is one of the best defenses in football, and what does he do? Kill him. He looked like killed him. Like, he looked like he'd been playing the whole season, and it's just like, Jesus Christ. So yeah, I'm going Sam Howell. Shout out to the rookie.
My game ball does not go to anyone who was on the football field. It's Dan freaking Campbell, man. Dude, that guy's got the cojones of a I can't even explain it, dude. Like his pregame interview that he did during the game,
His pregame
like,
interview, his postgame, during the halftime interview.
yeah,
Oh, he was like,
like,
well, because like he was asked the whole like, well, you're eliminated, so what are you gonna do? Well, we can't go. They can't go. I love
if we can't go, they can't go. Like, I'm giving it to Dan Campbell, the entire Detroit Lions, just playing with heart, playing with emotion, and Dan Campbell has that team playing hard for him. So yeah, kudos to Dan Campbell, Detroit Lions. Yeah, you're not going to make the playoffs, but you've got a season where you're building on something. Also, Mike Tirico, it's Khalif Raymond. It's not Khalif. Why did you keep saying that? Like, how does nobody get in his ear? Like, hey, you're saying his name wrong every time you say it.
I don't know. I don't think they want I don't think those guys in that room want to be that guy to be like,
no,
hey,
dude, no way.
You're pronouncing that name wrong.
No,
I don't know. Like, I'm not
dude.
there. I don't know.
I work at television, dude. I'm telling you, if somebody's mispronouncing a name, I'm gonna get in their ear and be like, yo. No,
it's wrong.
It's wrong. They let him the whole game mispronounce his name the entire game. Like, I don't understand how that even happens. Like, how does it? I understand, like, maybe the first half you don't mention it, but at halftime, like, hey, yo, that name that you've been saying over and over again, getting it wrong.
Well, I remember years ago, like when Nikola Mirotic was on the Bulls. I forgot who they were playing. It was like a Sunday game on ABC, and he kept calling Mirotic Teletovic, and it's like he did it for an entire quarter, and he's like, is no one gonna tell him? That's like
the crazy thing, Mike Tirico is so good at his job. Like, he is so talented, and like, his versatility, his ability to cover like Olympics and basketball and baseball and football.
His versatility is amazing.
He's stupid talented. Like, he's a talented human being, but there's just some things that just like how does nobody tell you, hey, it's not Khalif Raymond, it's Khalif. I don't know. But yeah, that's been our Week 18 recap as we are wrapped up the National Football season here as we move into the playoffs. Tomorrow we're going to break down those matchups for Super Wildcard Weekend. Then on Wednesday we're going to do the crossover. Thursday we're going to do a bracket challenge where we whoever is involved in the show is going to do a bracket. Whoever has the best bracket get some bragging rights here at Prime Sports World. And then Friday is probably going to be a college football showdown with Izzy. As he's currently in Missouri. I guess that's where you go when the Packers lose. You go hide in Missouri.
Why is he in Missouri?
I don't know. That's
like vacation kind of thing?
I don't know. He's been in Utah, so maybe he just stopped in Missouri. But that's where you go when the Packers don't make the playoffs. You go to Missouri to hide. But yeah, please share, share, and subscribe to the podcast. And if you weren't able to watch us live, we're also on Apple Music, we're on Spotify, and that other one is Amazon Music. I think I'll get it memorized at some point. TJ, what we do here at the Prom, my friend?
We bring the heat.
Yes, sir, we do. And it's 31 degrees here, so we could use some heat in Fort Wayne. We'll be back here tomorrow. You guys all have a good night and stay safe.
It's not freezing, so I'll take that.
31 degrees is actually below freezing, but that's, nitpicking. We'll be back here tomorrow. You guys all have a good night. Peace out, brother.
See you.